signal, and that marks the beginning of my program, Gilbert Talks Taxes, because, are we done there? That was the International Morse Code signal, and that marked the beginning of my program, Gilbert Talks Taxes. That little echo there. Good morning, everyone. It's 21st day of November. I am Gilbert Carmona. I'm an enrolled agent. An enrolled agent is a person enrolled with the Internal Revenue Service to represent taxpayers. I prepare tax returns. I am a tax expert. I'm an accountant. I'm also a financial planner. I've got all kinds of credentials and licenses that says so. The program is Gilbert Talks Taxes, and I come here to talk about taxes, but I come here to talk about a lot of things. It's because it's my program. Todd, my engineer this morning, Todd. Good morning, Todd. And on my program, I can do whatever I want and talk about whatever I want. So I have been talking. Let's get the politics out of the way. If you have a question, you can call the station here live, because we are live on this 21st day of November. The number here, the best number is the 3636, right, for them to call, Todd? 355. Thank you. 828-287-3556. Call the program and ask a question. One of my able assistants out in the lobby will take that question and bring it to me. I already have a question this morning waiting for me. Someone got a letter and wants to know about the CARES Act. And the CARES Act there's a lot going on with the CARES Act, actually. The biggest part of it, how it was the stimulus, and if you're self-employed or if you have a business and you got some stimulus money and things like that. So I don't know what part of the CARES Act, but let me get into that a little bit later. Let me get into that later. Going to talk about, we're coming up on the end of the year, some end of the year tax planning, and what we know already is happening with the tax code for next year. I don't think much is going to change. Again, you can email me, Gilbert at gilberttalkstaxes.com. My office number, I've got an office here at 113 Whitesides Road. My telephone number is 828-289-9300. I've got another office in Tryon at 226 South Trade Street. That is the beautiful Art Deco building right off the historic downtown Tryon. Again, 226 South Trade Street, but either number gets or the same telephone number gets either office, 828-289-9300. If you want an appointment, we do tax planning, tax reviews, whatever it is you need. Corporate business decisions, this is the time of the year to make them for next year and the balance of this year. There's a lot to talk about, but what everybody wants to talk to me about is my opinion. Although everybody seems to have an opinion, they just seem to ask me for mine, of what's going on with our election, because we still have an election going on, and we do not have a clear winner. In spite of what the media is telling you, we do not have a clear winner because of the simple fact, and as Ben Shapiro likes to say, facts don't care about your feelings. Okay, it's not what I feel or what I think or whatever. This is the fact of the matter. There are 6 states right now that are having issues. 2 of those states are in recount. 4 of those states are in litigation. Okay, nothing can happen until all that litigation has worked its way through the court system. Plain and simple. I'm not going on a pro-Trump rant right now. This is not what this is about. This is about our country and our democracy, at least the illusion that we have a democracy. I'm really wondering these days what's been going on all these years. But right now we have a republic, and it's about that republic right now. Because, if Trump wins or loses, the next 4 years will come by as fast as the last 4 years. And we'll be here again with a different candidates, different names, different choices. But if there's any truth at all to these allegations, we need to know, because a lot of people are very disheartened. My engineer this morning, Todd, was very disheartened, and you're not the only one, Todd. A lot of people are. And people have said to me, well, he lost. Well, no, he hasn't lost. He has not lost. Just everybody get that. He has not lost. It has not been ruled yet. But the media said, and then one lady really, that was really, to me, that was the proverbial cherry on the topping. She said, but even Republicans are saying he lost. and, interesting, Alan Dershowitz, and he's no conservative, and he's no Trump lover. Alan Dershowitz, for those of you who don't know, he's a professor from Harvard, incredible lawyer with just decades of representing the who's who's. You know who one of his most famous clients was, Todd? Alan Dershowitz. Well, probably, I would say his most famous, maybe not his most famous, but is definitely the most high-profile case, I think, he ever had. He was O.J.'s attorney, O.J. Simpson's attorney. He was the lead counsel for O.J. Simpson. So this guy's been around. And he said Biden is not the president-elect. Plain and simple. And believe me, he got all kinds of heat for it because he's a liberal. So when he says something like that, it carries a lot of weight. And he said it right here. I've got it on the, as a matter of fact, I got it on the front page right here. Professor Dershowitz, Biden is not the president-elect. But then he says, although I will respect the fact that he can call himself whatever he wants. And if he chooses to call himself the president-elect, he can. He invented this thing called the Office of the President-elect, which, I guess they went down to the local print shop and had some signs made up, put them on a podium, and therefore it's official. But he's not. Plain and simple, he's not. So the conversation I had yesterday with several people, yesterday, the day before that, because they said to me, well, why are you so optimistic? And I'm going to get to that in 1 minute. But the plain and simple truth is this. This case is now in the courts, okay? And what happens in the courts is anybody's guess. We don't know. We just don't know. I mean, I would hope Trump would win, let me say that, because purely for economic reasons. I mean, his tax plan is solid. We have had 4 years. I mean, everybody knows this. And anybody who doesn't know it or anybody who doesn't believe it, you just don't understand economics and what's been happening the last 4 years, okay? And no, it was not Obama's economic policies that have brought in this prosperity. On the contrary, so that is what I would hope. But the scripture that I have had since October, Todd, what is that scripture? Because I think we all need to go back and read this again. No one stops and asks, what is this thing I hold in my right hand? Is it truth? It's Isaiah. And I just want to encourage everybody, read in Isaiah. Read Isaiah 40, 41, 42, 43. Just go in there and read them. He is telling them. So the scripture I'm referring to, by the way, is Isaiah 44:20. That the kind of person, because I ask, and I've asked several people that have been very just doom and gloom about this. I've said, have you stopped and have you asked God what is truth? And every one of them said to me, no. No, I've not. Have you prayed about this? Have you really gone to God? God, I just want truth. I don't want Donald Trump to be my president. I don't want Joe Biden to be my president. I want truth. What is truth? What is your plan? Because God's got something to say about everything. God had something to say about the clouds that are in the sky today. Everything. God has something to say about it. So, and if you don't believe that, then don't even listen to my program because you're going to disagree with everything I believe in, because that's the foundation of my life. That's the foundation of this planet. That's the foundation of this galaxy, of everything, of our whole being. God said so. John, the first chapter of John, the Word, God spoke the Word, and it happened. He spoke it into being. So when you go to Isaiah 44, Isaiah 20, he's talking in the chapters before, he's talking about the person who takes a piece of wood and makes an idol out of it. And this kind of man feeds on ashes. He finds a satisfaction in ashes. A deluded mind has led him astray, so that he cannot release and save himself or ask, is not this thing I am holding in my right hand a lie? So please today, just stop and ask, what is going on? But ask God what is going on, because like I said, he's got a lot to say about it. And one last thing I want to share. I shared it last week, and We've talked about it a lot. Um, those of you know. So let's get up to speed here. So they had the big press conference. What day was it now? I can't. The days have all been. It was Thursday or Friday. Thursday. They have the big press conference, and we know that this software has incredible amounts of issues with it. Let's just say it that way. According to one of the witnesses or one of the affidavits or whatever, one of the people giving testimony, a 15-year-old with a smartphone could hack into this system. We're talking about Dominion software. We're talking about and some of the other software is now in question. So has all this time they've all been using all this software, has this all been rigged? Has this been... I had a client who's from Europe say to me, it's really interesting because in Europe, when we have elections, there's usually one candidate will win by 70, 80%. And you'll have some candidates that'll get very high. It seems like in this country, it's always 50-50, 51-49, 52-48. She says it's very suspicious. She said it's every election. And it's 2 years one party, 2 terms one party, 2 terms the next party, 2 terms the next party, 2 terms the next party. She said in Europe we have all, it's like you never know what's going to happen. And it's very different. She said it's almost like it's rigged. And she said this to me weeks ago, literally weeks and weeks ago. And that hasn't left me. And I'm thinking, if somebody that's not from this country even sees it, it's interesting. So Dominion Software, Sidney Powell, they have the press conference, and we've got all kinds of issues. The vote flipping, there's all kinds of affidavits, 219 lawsuits right now, and counting. Is that still correct? That's still the number, approximately, and counting. And I shared with my wife, I said, we came here from Cuba. I was born in Cuba, and we came here from Cuba, and, Cubans could have gone to any country. When Cubans started to leave Cuba because of communism, a lot left in 57, 58, the ones that saw it coming. Others left in 60, 61. I left in 60. I was a baby. Left 61, 62, 63. When the Cuban exodus happened, it was they call it a brain drain on the country because all the business owners, doctors, professors, lawyers, authors, all those people left. So when all these people left and it happened, Cubans could have gone to any country, and they did. Venezuela, Puerto Rico, Spain, Portugal, mostly to Latin America, Argentina. Cubans left. They fled. It wasn't like the United States was the only country we could go to, but it was the country we wanted to go to because this country had a reputation for justice and truth and honesty, and this was not a corrupt country. That's what we all believed. At least that's what I grew up being taught. And that's what I grew up believing. So I told my wife, I said, you feel betrayed. And I read this last week, but I want to read it again. We had this conversation actually not yesterday, but the Saturday before, when it first started to come out that this Dominion software was in fact corrupt. There's overwhelming evidence it's corrupt. But the thing is that, and Todd, you said it earlier today when I came in here, Todd and I were talking, you said, what are they going to do about it? You're not the first person to tell me that. You hear that over and over and over again. We've been here before. We've had these accusations before. We have found mass corruption before. I mean, we've caught people with both hands in the cookie jar. And what happened to them? Nothing. So what says it's going to be different this time? And it's a legitimate complaint. So my wife, being the practical spiritual woman she is, opened up her Bible, because I specifically told her, I said, I feel betrayed. I mean, I guess you always knew it. I'm not naive, but not at this level, that they can literally at 4 o'clock in the morning push a button and add 200,000 votes to one man. I mean, that's just beyond hubris. That's just, it's beyond unbelievable. And the betrayal that you feel. And she opened up to 1 Corinthians 11:23. I'm going to read it again today because it's my show, and I can do that, Todd. I'm going to read it again, and I might read it even more as the weeks go on. 1 Corinthians 11:23. Now this is Paul in a letter he wrote to the Corinthians. For I received from the Lord himself that which I passed on to you. It was given to me personally, that the Lord Jesus, on the night when he was treacherously delivered up, and while his betrayal was in progress, he took bread. And when he had given thanks, he broke it, and he said, Take, eat, this is my body, which is broken for you. Do this to call me affectionately to remembrance. By the way, I'm reading out of the Amplified Bible. Please read that. I found it incredibly encouraging that even as Jesus was being betrayed, he was still serving the people. And even if we are being betrayed, what are we going to do about it? We're going to keep keeping on. This changes nothing. This doesn't change our republic, and this doesn't change what we are going to do moving forward. And as my wife always says, these people will be held in judgment. And God says, vengeance is mine. So we're going to be encouraged, right, Todd? We're going to be encouraged. And you people out there, please, I want you to be encouraged. And those of you that supported Biden, I get it. You supported Biden. Again, this is not about Trump or Biden anymore. This is about knowing what happened. And we've got to remove beyond a shadow of a doubt that there was fraud. We need to know. Tucker Carlson said on his program last week, and I don't listen to a lot of media because I don't want it to taint my views. You know, what I share with the people. I want to share with you what I'm inquiring of God, what I'm praying about, and my life, just my daily life. But he said something that has just stuck with me. The only thing that's going to unite this country, because they keep talking about we need to unite. Let the healing begin. Well, we don't need any healing right now. Trump supporters are like, we're not the ones that are burning cities down. We're not the ones that are ruining and destroying people's lives. We're not the ones that need healing. But I get it. You want the healing to begin. Okay, well, let me tell you how the healing's going to begin. Total, complete honesty. Until we have that, there's always going to be a cloud over all of this. Todd, let's take a real quick break. And let's get back, talk about, I want to share there's some scams. Let me get that out of the way. There's a couple of new scams. I talked last week about the scam where they're texting you that your stimulus money has not been deposited yet because we have a problem with your routing and a bank account number. And people are responding to those texts. There's a couple more I want to talk about. Then we're going to get into, the schedule for taxes, end of the year, tax planning, stimulus, and talk a little bit about this CARES Act. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, right here, WCAB, AM 590, FM 100.9.
Hi there, this is Kimberly, and I'm here to tell you about Peterson's Auto Service and Detail Shop. As a woman, I'm often apprehensive about taking my car to a dirty service garage. But you can be assured that Peterson's, located at 478 Butler Road, Forest City, has an incredibly clean and safe environment where you get high-quality service at a great price. Peterson's was voted Rutherford County's best auto service 3 years in a row. So take your car to Peterson's for brakes, oil change, North Carolina inspection, tire rotation, headlight lens restoration, scratch removal, and meticulous auto detailing. That's Peterson's at 478 Butler Road, Forest City. You can call him for an appointment at 245-8889.
People come up to me and say, Gilbert, thank you for doing my tax return, and thank you for getting me that big refund. Do you have any ideas what I can do with that refund? Oh, yes, I do. Take that refund right over to NC Tractor and Farm Supply, talk to Phil, get you a brand new shiny red Massey Ferguson. That's NC Tractor and Farm Supply, Railroad Avenue. You can call Phil at 828-429-5008. By the way, mention you heard it on Gilbert Talks Taxes. I'm hoping he'll give me a discount when I go buy my brand new shiny Massey Ferguson tractor.
This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9. So Todd just brought up about the Biden rallies, and is Biden having rallies? He's having get-togethers. Yeah, is that what it is? So he's having so Facebook. Well, thank you for bringing that up, Todd, because I thought about talking about it, but I know 80 people that went to that rally in Washington D.C. last Saturday. I know 80 that went. So the numbers, I have not seen any numbers. The only numbers that I wanted to know is, what did the U.S. Park Service say? How many people were there? Because they're the ones. But unless they meet at the reflecting pool in front of the Washington Monument across from the Lincoln Memorial, unless they meet there, the Park Service won't count it, from what I understand. So, because this was kind of a rolling thing. They met, and then went over to the Supreme Court. So the people that were there, my friends that were there, were also there at the inauguration. And they say to them it felt like it was as many people as were there for the inauguration. And they were there all day, outside in public, doing things. So that's what they felt. Was it? I don't know. The fact that 100 people got together is a big deal. And then the following day, Brandon Straka. So Sunday, Brandon Straka, for those of you who don't know who Brandon Straka is, well, before I get into that, so Todd said Facebook blocked all the streaming. You couldn't live stream from the MAGA March. You couldn't. Why? How do they get away with that? See, that's the thing. Well, no, really. You know what? Let them do it. You just know who your enemies are. It was very clear. Mark your enemies and mark them well. And they are obviously our enemies. You know, Twitter. I mean, Twitter is no friend of yours if you're a conservative. And I don't care what race you are. They are no friend of yours. So getting back to conservative, Brandon Straka, for those of you who don't know, he is an openly homosexual man who left the Democrat Party because of just issues he had. He had just major issues. He does not agree with the platform of the Democrat Party. And he walked away, did a video about why he was walking away, because you know what happens. All his friends, no longer are his friends. He got cursed out on his Facebook. He got cursed out on his Twitter. He was called all these names. So he did a video saying why he was doing it, explaining why, which, of course, really, you're answering a fool according to their folly, because the social media thing is a trap. I don't have social media accounts. I refuse to have social media accounts. Why? Because of that right there. You know, I'm not stepping into that lobster trap. And it is a trap. You walk in, you ain't getting out. You know, so he did this thing called walk away, and he encouraged other people to walk away. Well, after he did his video, literally thousands of videos. Now, I don't know how many of them I heard YouTube had taken a bunch down. Thousands of videos of other people, homosexual. A lot of them were homosexual because he is, and so that there was a connection there. But just a lot of people, African Americans, Latinos, Latinas, people that were Democrat, formerly Democrat, were now joining him and walking away. The thing became such a movement that 2 years ago, he had a rally in Washington, and I don't know how many people came, 50,000, 80,000. It was a pretty big group, showed up, which, for any group of people to go to Washington, D.C., I mean, it's a deal to go there, and it's incredibly expensive. It takes time. It takes money. It's not like you're going to go down to, your local downtown and hold some picket signs. I mean, this is an effort to get down there. And then when you're there, you're harassed. All the things that go on. We saw the Antifa beatings. We saw the BLM people. I mean, it was just incredible to do that. So they did that. Now, he did a thing on Sunday. And from what I understand, a large crowd showed up for that. So it was actually 2 days of events, and it was a lot of little things that happened in between. But so Facebook stopped the streaming of it. Yeah, that's par for the course. Right there, that tells you That is the only way these people can win. Suppression and silencing. Sounds like what happened to us in Cuba, doesn't it? So where's this going to go? Just look at what happened to us in Cuba, and look what happened in Venezuela, and look what happened in the Soviet bloc countries. And people, if you don't think it's going to happen, please think again. Now, for those of you live streaming, by the way, I didn't welcome you live streaming, www.WCAB59.com. I am holding up a picture. This was on Epic or Epoch, however you want to say it, Times. There's a picture of Ronald Reagan, his president picture, and I am wearing today my pocket square in a square fold, just like his. See that? I've actually got a tie kind of like that, but I should wear it sometime. But he was classic. But the quote under his picture is, "You and I have a rendezvous with destiny." And I asked Todd, when do you think he said that? And most people guess sometime in the 80s, because that's when he was president. He said that in October of 1964, when he was running for governor of California. He said, "You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We will preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we will sentence them to take the first step into 1,000 years of darkness. If we fail, at least let our children and our children's children say of us, we justified our brief moment here. We did all that could be done." And that is words to live by. Okay. I was going to talk to you about scams that are going on, especially you business owners. Business owners, if you received any payroll protection payment money, PPP, you know that that is technically a loan that you're going to ask to be forgiven, all or part. Okay? So it was a loan that SBA, Small Business Administration, made to you through a bank, whatever bank you applied at. So, but it is a loan, a 1% loan that has to be paid back in 3 years. Okay. Actually now the adjustment to the Secure Act changed that and made it 5 years, but under some circumstances, and you had to justify payroll and all these things. Okay. So, but it's a loan. So the paperwork to apply for that forgiveness is coming out now. They actually released the form last month, but they made some changes to it, and it's been re-released. Square and some of these other banks are actually created an online portal. If you got your money from Square or PayPal or whatever bank you used, they're going to tell you how to apply for your forgiveness. Okay, so people are getting emails saying that it's SBA or IRS or Department of the Treasury, wherever the email's coming from. They're all different, saying you need to fill out this so we can finalize your forgiveness. And of course, what do they want? Social security numbers, dates of birth, mailing addresses, routing numbers, and account numbers. Now, those are red flags to you folks, because in the application, the forgiveness application, they don't need any of that. They already have that. They already know who you are. They've given you money. They don't need to know this. You've already gotten past that. But it's asking you for all this to verify. And so it's PPP. It's also EIDL, and there's another one that they're saying. And so be aware, if you've got staff, accountants, or secretaries, or people, tell them to be aware. Watch out for these emails, because they look official, and they look like they're from the SBA. They look like they're from the IRS. They look like they're from the Department of the Treasury, asking you for all this information. And people are giving them the information, especially with the payroll protection, because they're asking for that information for all your employees, all the people that supposedly were payroll protected. So people are actually sending them this information, thinking it's from the government, and just be aware, it is a scam. The actual application if you borrowed $50,000 or less, and again, I use the word borrowed because that's what it is, a loan. If you borrowed $50,000 or less, they've created a streamlined method for you to pay back. If you borrowed $50,000 or more, up to $2 million, there's another method you're going to use. But I said it early on. I said the big question I had is, how are they going to audit all of these? I mean, it's tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands. I don't know how many people got these loans. It was trillions of dollars worth. And how are they really going to audit loans? Because so many of them were for just thousands, 7,000, 9,000, 4,000. It's going to cost more money to audit these forgiveness papers than it is the amount of money that the people got. So at some point I said they're probably just going to simplify this, make it real easy, or maybe even just wipe it out. And there was some talk early on that anybody that had borrowed less than $150,000, they were just going to waive it. So right now what they're doing is at $50,000 or less, it's pretty much just waiving it. The only documentation you have to supply right now is you're just attesting what you did, that you in fact used it for this and all that. And at some point the bank is going to ask you for this paperwork. They're not doing it yet. So we're not there yet. They're still working on forms and they're still working on things. So be aware. The other scam that I talked about last week is the COVID-related scam, the China virus, the economic impact payment of $1,200. You're going to get a text, and this one really targeted older people, saying there was a second stimulus payment, and they need to verify your routing and your account number to get it, that it's been approved. There is no stimulus payment has been approved. Right now, they're not doing anything until we find out who our next president is. They're not doing anything in Washington. I mean, there is no bandwidth for any legislation right now to get through. So be aware of that, especially those of you that are responsible caretakers for elderly people. Routing number and account number. Okay, let's take another quick break here. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9.
As we get ready for this year's tax season, there's one thought on everyone's mind. Will Gilbert's hair look fabulous this year? Oh, yes, it will. How can I say that? Because I go to Robin Saunders at RSL Salon. Whether it's a good haircut, a pedicure, or a manicure, you can count on RSL Salon. Call Robin at 828-289-9110 because everyone deserves to look fabulous. This is Gilbert. I want to tell you about Jesse James Railroad Express at 531 Railroad Avenue in Rutherfordton. It's a great place. Jesse's a good friend of mine, and I encourage you to stop by and support him. On Mondays, he's doing a 99-cent hot dog, mustard, chili, and onions. When you go, tell him Mr. Fabulous himself sent you.
We are back. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB AM 590. FM 100.9. Those of you live streaming, www.wcab59.com. Okay, as I am talking about it, I get a text asking me about my stimulus payment. Yeah, I'm telling you, this is a big one. This is a big scam. It is coming out. You think they heard me?
Probably.
Yeah, probably did. They probably heard me.
They're listening online.
Yes, they are. They are, yeah, and Google a live stream or Facebook a live stream that. You can scam all you want. Yes. So, end of the year. Let's talk about the end of the year. It's the end of the year, Todd. There is, I was going to talk about business deductions, but so far, there are no tax credits that are going to change. There's no new tax credits. There's nothing new happening. We don't know anything about a stimulus package yet. If you have not gotten your $1,200 and $500 for every dependent from the original stimulus package back from April and March, April, May, if you have not gotten that, okay, the online tool that the IRS is using is going to go offline sometime this week. I thought they were going to do it before Thanksgiving and maybe right after Thanksgiving, but that tool is no longer going to be available. So, and incidentally, today is the last day to e-file, to electronically file your tax return for tax year 2019. It's hard to believe 2020 is coming to an end. Todd said, "Thank goodness." So, today midnight is the last, and people think, who hasn't filed a tax return yet? Oh, plenty of people. I actually had two this week come in. Now these were unique situations that they had issues that they had to resolve, and there's no in their situations there's no penalty. They were just waiting for some documents. Documents finally showed up, and we were able to e-file 2 days before the deadline. So now that does not mean you cannot file a tax return for 2019. That just means I can no longer electronically file after midnight tonight. There's no more electronically filing for this year until they reopen the computers, which is usually around the 20th. I just say around the 20th of January. That's usually when we reopen, and that reopen will be for the 2020 tax year filing. We're going to do tax returns for 2020. Okay. So if you have not filed your tax return for whatever reason, to electronically file it, today's the last day. But paper file, you can still paper file. You can always paper file. That's not a problem. It's electronic filing is not a requirement. It sure is handy though. Now I have to electronically file returns because I'm an ERO. I have no choice. But if for some reason I can't, then I paper file. So we're going to be doing paper filing for the rest of the year. I don't have any open issues, but people will come through the door with them. If you have not filed your tax return, if you've got questions, or you filed your tax return and you're questioning whether you should amend or not, this is the time of the year we do reviews. Please give me a call, 828-289-9300. Get you in here, make an appointment, and let me look at that tax return. And surprisingly enough, I find quite a few mistakes when I do these reviews. Sometimes people are concerned, and they always say something like this. They say, it just doesn't feel right. I've been doing my business return for many years, and this just doesn't feel right. Something's wrong with this. I can't figure it out, but something's wrong. I'll get into it. Usually when they say something like that, usually there is something wrong. It's interesting. They're like, I'm not an accountant, but it doesn't feel right. So if you have any questions, if you doubt it, most of the ones I get that have issues are people that self-prepare, or they just went to just an inexperienced preparer who maybe didn't understand their business, didn't understand what they did, and that's typically where I run into some problems. If you have that, please give me a call. You can send me an email, gilbert@gilberttalkstaxes.com, and we will look at that. So end of the year. You've got till the end of the year to do whatever you're going to do, okay, as far as spending money. Now, last week I shared a couple of strategies. One of them was about not invoicing, and I did get some emails. I've gotten some emails. People have asked me some questions. I'm sorry, we were really busy this week with just trying to get all these filings done by today, the ones that had to be done. So, and we've just been in meetings, a lot of meetings. So there's a couple of emails I haven't answered yet. Questions were a little more complicated. They're just not that easy. I'll be working on those this week. But I want to clarify one thing right here about using your credit card, because I had a couple of questions about this. Using your credit card correctly. Let's say, okay, you've had a good year, you made some money, you need to buy some things. You don't have the cash flow right now to get it. Or you have the cash flow, but you don't want to use it all up. You got a credit card that the balance won't be due till the middle of January. If you use that credit card maybe even towards the end of January, if you time it right. So if you make a purchase before the end of the year, you may be able to extend that payment out 45 days. 40 days, 45 days, which in business is huge, especially if it's a big purchase. Okay? So if you are a single member LLC, or a sole proprietor, and you file a Schedule C for your business, the day you charge a purchase to your business or personal credit card is the day you deduct the expense. Okay? Now, there is the issue of if you buy a piece of equipment that has to be put into service. Okay, and I know this stuff gets tedious and boring, but just hold on with me here. This is the details that put people to sleep usually, Todd, in a meeting. I explain these details. So, like an air conditioning unit, technically to expense it, you're supposed to put it into service. Okay? Something like that. But other things are you can expense immediately, especially inventory, okay, that you're going to use in production or just different things that you're going to have for sale. So let's say you're going to ramp up to have stock for the upcoming holiday season. You need extra cash flow. Can I use your credit card for that? Yes. If it's a single member LLC or a sole proprietor, you can use your business credit card or your personal credit card. Sole proprietor, there is no designation between what is personal, what is business. We talk about commingling and keeping your bank accounts separate only because it's easier if there's an audit, when you're audited, when we do the internal audit, if I'm only having to look at one bank account. It's very complicated if I'm having to look at two bank accounts and there's a bunch of business stuff out of your personal account. Because now we're having to break out all the receipts, the Walmart receipt from the Sherwin-Williams receipt, the Lowe's receipt from the Aldi receipt. And it just takes time. It's just more work. So that's why we say just have one bank account, just have a designated debit card. But let's say you need it to spend some money right now, and the credit card you have with a high limit or the limit you need happens to be a personal card. Yes, you can use it, okay? And you can deduct that expense the day you deduct it. Now, so I got some emails and some texts about Schedule C filers, or not Schedule C, corporations, C corps especially, or multi-member LLCs. Okay, so but to finish the thought, therefore, as a Schedule C taxpayer, you should consider using your credit card for these last-minute purchases. Okay, now if you operate a business as a corporation, and the corporation has a credit card in the corporate name, the same rule applies. Okay, you use that corporate credit card to make that purchase, you expense it on the day you bought it. And literally, I mean on the day you bought it. You get on Amazon or wherever you buy your things, or you go to your vendor's website and you go ahead and buy that thing you need, and I mean with business servers costing $15,000 and $20,000 now, that's not even an expensive one anymore. If you're going to upfit your office equipment, I mean, you could drop $40,000, $50,000 pretty quick. And so it's the minute you order it, you can expense it. So you may not get it till January. Well, that's fine for certain types of things. That's fine. You can do that. The date of the charge is the date of the deduction for the corporation. But if you operate your business as a corporation and you are the personal owner of the credit card, the credit card's in your name, the corporation must reimburse you if you want the corporation to realize the tax deduction, and that happens on the date of reimbursement. Thus, submit your expense report and have your corporation make its reimbursement to you before midnight on December 31st. Okay, now you get into questions of when do you cash that check? Okay, and that can also help you with your cash flow. Okay, and I talked last week, I'm going to bring this up again today because I just had this conversation on Monday. Here I talk about it Saturday and Monday. Don't assume you're taking too many deductions. Okay, don't assume. I had a man, he wants me to review his tax return that he had somebody do, and he doesn't feel good about it. He said it just doesn't feel right. And I was talking to him about his deductions, and he said, well, I didn't put all those deductions. And I said, why? He said, well, I didn't want to have too many deductions. And I said, what do you mean? Was it a legitimate business deduction? Oh, yeah. I've got the receipts. I've got the invoices, the payments, the checks. They were legitimate. I just didn't want to raise any red flags. Folks, if it's a legitimate expense, there is no such thing as a red flag. It doesn't exist. 50% of all audits, I have been told this by auditors, 50% of all audits are random. You've randomly been picked for an audit. And then there are audits for specifics, and there are audits for things that may be anomaly high. But if it's legitimate, it's legitimate. You know, I've had people audited. We submit all the receipts, and they're like, okay. We submit all the mileage logs, okay. You know, it's when you don't have receipts and you tell me you did something, that's when we have a problem. But never stop documenting your deductions. You always claim rightful deductions, okay? I just don't know where they get this. Oh, and then one man said, this was a couple of weeks ago, he said, well, I didn't want to have a business loss because then you're losing money. And I said, well, no, you carry that forward to the next year. It's called an NOL. It's called a net operating loss, okay? So we do that. Now, and here, asking the lady that asked about the CARES Act, and this is why talking about the CARES Act is kind of hard, because the CARES Act has so many parts to it. So I'm going to talk about another last minute thing here. Because of the China virus, the COVID-19, there's actually an exception. There's some potential opportunities to turn NOLs into cash for your business. Okay, I'm just going to quickly hit on these strategies. This really needs to be discussed and looked at, but I want to make you business owners out there aware this even exists. There's 2 NOL exceptions that came from the coronavirus aid. CARES, by the way, Todd, stands for Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act. Okay, CARES. The CARES Act allows NOLs arising from tax years beginning in 2018, 2019, and 2020 to be carried back 5 years for refunds against prior taxes. Okay, why is that big? Because you're only allowed to claim refunds for prior taxes for 3 years. This has added 2 years to it, and it's opened that window now to 18 and 2020. The CARES Act allows application of 100% of the NOL to carry back years. So I just talked about NOLs. It creates an NOL with your deductions. Now you can actually carry them back 5 years, and you can claim a refund. So I'm going to be looking at this with all my business clients, and if I don't do your taxes, please talk to your tax preparer, or if you do them, look at this. If you have an NOL, 18, 19, or 2020, which we're getting ready to do these taxes now, if you have an NOL, this could be real cash. Like, this is going to give you a refund. This isn't just going to reduce your tax burden. So look into that, okay? There are 2 exceptions in the CARES Act regarding NOLs, okay? So before the NOL, before the NOL, there was a whole other process. I don't want to get into that. I can do a whole hour show on that. So if you have a 2018 NOL, you file an amended return. For a 2019 NOL, you can actually file for a tentative refund. There's a form before December 31st, and then 2020 we just do it with the tax return, and we claim the NOL going backwards. So the procedure for this is very, very simple. But talk about this. I'll be talking about this again some more. Talk about this with your tax preparer. If you're one of my clients, I'm going to be looking at this automatically. It's baked in the cake with the software. So I'll be looking for it. Todd, let's take our last break. It's hard to believe, 50 minutes, 48 minutes. What? How? I don't even know how it happened so fast. I guess I just enjoy what I do. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9.
I want to tell you about a little-known Rutherford County gem, Integrity Marble and Granite, located at 287 Shiloh Road in Forest City. They are the premier stone fabrication company in the western North Carolina region. They specialize in granite, marble, and natural stone, offering complete design and installation. Their design center and Kohler showroom features vanities, decorative accessories, bathroom, and kitchen fixtures. You do not have to go to Charlotte or Asheville for this kind of quality. We have it right here in Forest City. Stop in their showroom and browse their beautiful displays, or you can call 828-247-8801 for a free quote. You can also go to their website, www.integritymarblegranite.com, and look at the pictures and see samples of their available materials. Now, Mention you heard it on Gilbert Talks Taxes, and they will give you $100 off any sink purchase. That's integrity, marble, and granite.
This is Gilbert Talks Taxes. WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9. I was looking at a picture. I keep looking at this picture of Ronald Reagan. Those of you live streaming can see this. Am I holding it straight there? Yes. I mean, he was incredible. Just incredible. I really, you read about these presidents in history. We would read about them in history class. And I always wondered, would we ever, I remember as a child actually thinking this, it would be so neat to have been alive with some of these guys. You know, Andrew Jackson, Abraham Lincoln. I mean, just guys I really wanted to just, because you read about them, and I just thought they were just so neat, you know. Theodore Roosevelt, not the other Roosevelt, him I couldn't have cared less about. Even as a child I knew that. But Theodore Roosevelt, I always just thought, you know, the Rough Rider. And then to have been alive through Ronald Reagan. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny, the man said. You know what another quote of his was? Nothing feels as good on the inside of a man as the outside of a horse. He was the real thing. Okay, so talking now, getting back to the schedule for taxes, it's pretty much the same old, same old. And I forgot to mention earlier, the North Carolina, the $335 for every child, that's pretty much gone out. You should have gotten it. If you haven't, you may want to make a phone call to NCDOR, follow up with them. Just follow up with them. That's all I can say. You should have gotten it by now. I'm sorry, I'm getting some notes here. Got distracted a minute. You should have gotten it by now. If you haven't, give them a phone call and find out why you haven't gotten it. But that money's pretty much out. So, and for the person that called earlier and left this note about the CARES Act, I'm looking at my notes here on the CARES Act. There's just a lot with the CARES Act. I don't know why you would have gotten a letter about the CARES Act. But you know what? If you can email me that letter, I'd love to look at it, and I'll email you back and tell you specifically what. Because I could literally do a whole program on just the personal issues with CARES Act, let alone business and corporate, and I mean it goes on and on. Not for profit. I mean, CARES Act really was a big piece of legislation, and I think it spent $2 trillion to $1.8 trillion. It spent a whole bunch of money. So that person that got that letter from the CARES Act, please, and anybody, if you get something, scan it, send it to me, email it, Gilbert at gilberttalkstaxes.com. You can fax it to me. My office number is 828-289-9300. Get my fax number out real quick. It's 828-288-2110. 828-288-2110. That is my fax number. And you can send that to me. Now, so the deadlines are all the same. Nothing has changed. There is nothing new. Another note here. Oh, yes. Let me talk about that. That's a good question. Got a good question. Required minimum distribution. Give me 1 second. The deadlines are all the same. You business owners have to get your W-2s and your 1099s out to your people. We actually have a new 1099 form coming out this year, specifically for your subcontractors. Okay, so your tax preparer will be telling you about that. I'll be talking about that some more in the weeks coming up. I mean, it doesn't change what you're doing. Just need to be aware there's a new form. It used to be a catch-all form. Now they're kind of splitting it up and making it a little more specific. So those have to be out by January 31st. Estimated tax payments. Estimated tax payments. The last day to make your estimated tax payment for tax year 2020 is January 15th of 2021. Okay? I really ask people, please don't wait till that last day. I have seen where people will mail it that last day and it will get posted to the following year. And they do not unpost it. Okay? Once they post it, it's posted. So I've had this problem with North Carolina. The IRS, if it's post-dated, they're pretty good about it. I've never run into a problem with them with a post-dated. I've run into a problem where people have mailed it late, and it's just late. If it's late, it's late. But North Carolina, I've actually had that problem, and they will not unpost it. I mean, you don't lose the money. It's just now part of next year's estimated tax payments, and we don't want that. So please don't wait till the last day. Try to do it as soon as you can. I mean, you can even do it now. You don't have to wait till January 15th, but as soon as you have the money. But estimated tax payments, if you know that you've made a lot of money, so the rule is this: if last year you owed money, they're going to calculate your estimated tax payments based on 90% of that amount of money divided by four equal payments, and as long as you make that amount, there's no penalty for underestimating. But if you were not required to make voucher payments, estimated tax payments, and you had made a lot of money, you had a good year, and you're going to make some money, you're going to owe some taxes, you could get hit with a penalty for not doing estimated tax payments. Now, the penalty is very small, and I mean, it is very small, and some people are like, it's just not a big deal, I'll just pay the penalty. I'd rather do that than send the government money they're going to hold for 4 months, whatever. It's up to you what you do. I like to make estimated tax payments. I recommend my clients do, just because it's hard to come up with a big lump sum of money with 2 weeks notice. Now, I'm already having meetings with people going over this, trying to get a feel for where they're going to be at and how much money they're going to owe. Those of you that are my clients know that, and I'll give you a voucher and I will suggest you make a payment. It's up to you, but several people are going to go ahead and do that. Several of my clients, because they've been there before and they know it's hard to come up with the money. So we're doing that, and I'm getting texts too. This is just coming all around. Now, somebody just called here. Required minimum distribution. Okay, what did they want to know? What it is, or what the formula is, or Rhodey? Okay. So, required minimum distribution, if you put money away in your retirement plan, how much time do we have left, Todd? My engineer? 2 minutes. You will give me the 1 minute finger. Thank you. If you put money away in a 401k or an IRA or any tax-deferred, tax-favored plan, the government at some point wants that tax money, okay? So they've created what's called a required minimum distribution. Now, it was at 70 and a half. Now they raised it, part of the Secure Act actually, raised it to 72. So the required minimum distribution has been raised to 72. Now there is a group of people there that had already were required. They just were under that like 71. So they took their required minimum distribution. You're going to just take one again this year. So it's a formula based on your age of how much money, it's a percentage of what's in your plan that you have to withdraw, and you have to pay tax on it. Okay? Now there are a few strategies for deferring that tax, but they don't apply to everybody, and it's more than I want to talk about on the radio. If you have required minimum distributions and you have some questions about that, I'd love to talk to you. Give me a phone call, 828-289-9300. I just need some more specifics about your situation. How much money? What's your age? 1 minute. Thank you, Todd. How much money? What's your age? And things like that. But it's based on a percentage, and you have to do it. Now, the person that's holding your money, and I say the person, it's a bank, Fidelity, it's going to be like Wells Fargo Advisors, or wherever your money is, they're supposed to reach out to you and tell you that you've got this required minimum distribution, because there is a penalty for not taking your required minimum distribution, and the penalty, believe it or not, is 50%. But there is a form that you can request a waiver for that, but I don't even like to go there. I like to get it done. So they're supposed to reach out to you and tell you. What happens is A lot of times they don't, and I have people where they haven't. Your advisor may retire, he's not there anymore. You're now what's called a house account. Nobody's watching your account. So if you've got an IRA and you're 72, coming up to 72, if you're over 70 and a half, call the people and find out if an RMD is required minimum distribution. Just ask them, is it required? Do I have to do it? Because it's on you, and you got to get it by the end of the year. Okay? If you have any more questions, give me a call. Send me an email. It's 828-289-9300. Gilbert at gilberttalkstaxes.com. This wraps up my show today. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9.
Chief Whitehouse.